What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, talking more about these new Buster Blader cards coming out in Breaker of Shadows, and I think that I'm starting to understand this deck. These are actually more supplemental support cards. I think I get what Buster Blader is really about and how Konami's trying to build this archetype. It kind of breaks down into two parts. Like, the first part is obviously Buster Blader himself, and you can use him as either a beater, or you can probably, what most people are going to go into, they're going to go into like the Synchro and the Fusion, because those are like even more powerful than himself. Or you could use the Destruction Sword cards, which essentially you equip them to the Buster Blader and then they empower him with different effects, and they have their own effects too. Like, sometimes they can unequip from the Buster Blader, sometimes they can give you lockdown, and you know, some of them you can send to the graveyard to do other things. So it's kind of like a two-part deck. This video is more or less going to focus on the new cards, which are, I mean, these are like Destruction Sword cards, so these are cards that empower the Buster Blader. We've got two of them to talk about, and then a quick play spell. The first one is Destruction Sword Wizard Buster Blader. And you know what's weird? This guy is a spellcaster, and then the other one is a machine. And I find that weird, because you would have thought that with new Buster Blader, you would have thought like everything in the deck would have either been dragon or warrior. Like, because that's how it kind of, like, the first cards were all like dragons and warriors, and Buster Blader is a warrior who fights dragons. So like a spellcaster and a machine, like, what? That seems just kind of weird to me. But anyways, this is a dark spellcaster, level 3, 1200 attack, 900 defense. That's not actually that terrible for level 3. Effect number 1 is pretty much copy pasted from all the Destruction Sword monsters, which it says that you can target one Buster Blader you control. You can equip this card from your field or you have in your hand to that target. So just like a Machine of Gear Frame, the only difference is it's actually much better, and it's kind of like more, it's kind of more coherent for like today's Yu-Gi-Oh, because it means that you don't have to commit a normal summon to equip this card. If you already committed your normal summon on the Buster Blader itself or something like that, then obviously you could just equip this from your hand and you can still get your effects going. All right, effect number 2. Effect number 2 is generally what you give the Buster Blader. Like, this is the empower effect. Effect number 2 is when this card is equipped to a monster, monsters in your opponent's graveyard cannot activate their effects. That's essentially Soul Drain, which, I mean, it's limited in the TCG, so it's still pretty strong against the right matchup. If you happen to play against Shadows or what's the other deck? Not Buster Blader, Burning Abyss, you can pretty much just lock down their entire decks. I mean, yeah, they might be able to kill this at some point, unequipped it, like Mystical Space Typhoon or something like that, but it's still, just being able to lock down your opponent's graveyard completely, well, from monsters anyway, still pretty powerful. And you might run into those old school decks like Frog Monarchs, where Rodent Totem, Treeborn Frog, Dupe Frog, like, none of those cards will do anything because they just can't activate while in the graveyard. Effect number 3 is the effect that it also gives itself. You can send this equipped card to the graveyard, target one Destruction Sword monster in your graveyard except itself, and you can add that card to your hand. I think this effect is really good, because it means that if you use another Destruction Sword earlier in the game, and you really want that one, but you have this one in your hand, like, it essentially, you just tag out. Like, you just say, okay, I got my Buster Blader on field, I don't want this card, I want another one, the one that I used earlier. So you just equip this to the Buster Blader, you activate its effect, you send it to the graveyard, you get your new equip card, and then you just equip that. So this card is really good in my opinion. At least it's good in the context of the Buster Blader deck. All right, next up we have Destruction Sword Arms Buster Blade. This is, it says it's an Earth. You can clearly see that this attribute right here is dark. So YGO organization done goofed on the translation, or at least it was a typo or something like that. It says that it's a machine. I guess I'll take them on their word on that. I mean, I kind of question that too, because it seems just random. 1600 attack, level 4, 1200 defense. Stat line is, it's okay. Like, 1600 for a level 4 is not great. I always want 1800. Effect number 1, copy paste. It's the ability to just be able to equip to the Buster Blader. Effect number 2, while this card is equipped to a monster, spell and trap cards that are already face up on the field, are already face up on your opponent's side of the field, excuse me, cannot activate their effects. At first I thought this effect was garbage, and then I thought, well, it does stop all pendulum cards, right? Like, it stops, you know, Cleaford Scout and any other pendulums that like search other cards. So that's one. It could stop like a monolith from activating. So that's not bad. But then I thought about it. I was like, how many decks now have like continuous or trap version, like have continuous spell or trap versions of like Reinforcements of the Army or some type of search card? You know what I mean? I'm like, Air Mages have that, and you know, I think DDDs have one too. The last deck I'm thinking of, Gradles have that, and it's not just that, but it stops field spells too. Like anytime your opponent will want to use a chicken game, oh, you want to draw? Well, I've got this guy, and you're just not going to draw because you can't use Chicken Race's effect. So this card's actually, it's not as bad as I actually thought. You know what I mean? But it has to be cards that are already face up on the field. So if your opponent activates Mirror Force, you can't be like negate it because it's face up. Like it has to already be face up on the field. If your opponent already has the chicken game out, they can no longer activate the effect. So the card's actually not that bad. The third effect is the effect that it has for itself. I don't really like it that much. You can send this equipped card to the graveyard. The monster it was equipped to gains 1,000 attack. I'm not big on giving, like, I'm not generally one to give up card advantage for, like, damage, and that's all that does. And 1,000 attack, I can't see it being that important unless you desperately need to run over a monster with your Buster Blade, or like you have to kill a decisive armor or something really huge you can't get over. Last card is Fate of the Destruction Swordmaster. You can only use each effect once per turn. It has 2 effects. Effect number 1, target up to 3 monsters with the same type in your opponent's graveyard. Banish them. And if you do, have 1 Buster Blader monster or Destruction Sword monster you control. Gain 500 for each monster that you banished until the end of the turn. All right, at first, I was like, man, that seems really specific. You have to, you know, try and go after a whole bunch of different types. But when you really break it down, at worst, it's a DD Crow. You know what I mean? At worst, you can banish any 1 monster because it says up to 3, not 3. You can banish any 1 monster. You just get rid of it, and then your opponent just, you know, or excuse me, then you end up giving your Destruction Sword or your Buster Blader 500. Now, best case scenario, you play against Infernoids or you play against, you know, Burning Abyss, and you just basically shit on them because all Burning Abyss and all Infernoids are pretty much Fiend, and those decks rely heavily on their graveyard. So in the right matchup, this card could actually shine. And then just, could you imagine, like, you're playing against Infernoids, you banish 3 of their monsters, and your Buster Blader gets 1,500 attack? Like, that would be insane. That'd be really strong. Effect number 2. If this card is in your graveyard, you can discard 1 Destruction Sword card, add this card to your hand. This could make this card really shine in the right matchup, because now we're going back to the Infernoid / Burning Abyss matchup, where this card should already be good. I mean, clearly this card is nuts against Infernoids, but could you imagine if you basically were using this card every turn? Like, you used it as essentially like a reverse burial from a different dimension against an Infernoid deck. You gave your Buster Blader 1,500 attack, and you're like, you know what? I'm enjoying making sure that you can't summon any more cards. I think I'm just going to pitch my Destruction Sword, one of these guys, and I'm just going to get this card back, and I'm going to use it again, and then during my next turn, I'm going to use it again. It's a quick play, so it works on both people's turns. Like, your opponent activates that reasoning, and they hit 2 Infernoids, okay, just banish them both. Like, don't even give them a chance to summon anything. So this card it's a DD Crow at worst. I like that you can reuse it, and in the right matchups like Burning Abyss, you know, maybe Shadows, because those are primarily like spellcasters, or definitely Infernoids, it could be really good. The only shame is I kind of wish this was in like Dimension of Chaos, like right now when Infernoids are really popular and hot, because by the time this comes out, like, who knows what the meta is going to be. If this card was out now, like, oh my goodness, it'd be pretty decent in this meta for this deck. But let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching as always.